Rolling. Okay, I think we're good to go. So the last couple weeks, well, aside from last week, how did that go, by the way, with Matt speaking? Is that good?
That's good.
It was interesting.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, Matt knows what he's talking about. So anyways, before that, we've spent the last couple weeks kind of in the trenches, actually using the tools for design, like Photoshop and Code and whatnot. Today, we're going to zoom out a little bit and talk about some higher level stuff. My goal, I hope it's not too vague and up in the clouds. I went to, as a speaker, a design speaker at Weber State last week, and he was really smart, really talented, but like half the stuff he was talking about, I had no clue what he was even trying to say. In fact, I'll read you some of these quotes, because his whole talk was like this. Here's a quote. This is the word for word what he said. A subversive group that affiliates with brevity and long-form consumption, or acting on an apparatus counter-programs the mode in which we operate, or ontologically confusing methodology. Like, and he was talking really fast, and afterwards I'm like, I don't know what you just said at all. So I hope this isn't like that.
What is the University of Communications?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to badmouth him because he was smart and talented, but like the whole time I'm like, either I'm really dumb or I have no idea what you're trying to say. But anyway, I want to talk about product design today. I'm curious what your interest level is in building products. How interested? Very interested? Anything you can sell for money?
I like money.
Okay.
How do you build money?
We will talk about that. Personally, I love products. I love the idea of having this idea in your mind and then actually building it and having it be something that's real and that people like enough that they'll pay money for. It's kind of what got me into this whole industry. I'm really passionate about doing that. In business, there's two ways to make money. You can either sell products or sell services. What I do right now is a service-based business, and I love it, but the amount of money I can make is capped by how many hours I put in. And even if I charge a lot per hour, I still can only make as much money as I put in hours. Whereas a product is completely scalable. You're not restricted on how many hours you put in. There might not be a difference between the hours it takes to sell 10,000 products versus 1,000 products, which to me is really exciting. However, there's a lot of value in both methods. In a service-based business right now, I get the opportunity to work on a lot of other products for other people. So there's a lot of variety and a lot of learning, which is really cool. There are a lot of companies that start as service-based companies and transition into product-based companies. So one example is 37 Signals. Has anyone heard of them? We were talking about them a little bit. Really cool company. I admire kind of the way that they run their business. The founders, one of them invented the Rails framework for Ruby on Rails, which is pretty cool to be able to say that you made that. And they came out with a book called Rework, which is great. Anyway, they started as a web design company, and then eventually, when they were getting enough client work and they had the time, they created their own product called Basecamp, which is a really popular task management tool. We actually use it in our business, and it's great. And they transitioned from not doing any service work to just focusing on the product. So, cool company. Highly recommend their book. It talks about that transition a little bit. Here's a local company based in Utah, Grow Social. Has anybody heard of them? They recently were bought for $25 million. It'd be pretty cool to say that I sold the company for $25 million. They started as a service company helping other companies do social media marketing. Eventually, they productized their service, which is why they were able to sell for $25 million. If they'd stayed as just a service-based company where they were putting in man hours to help your social media, then there's no way they could have sold that for that much. If a service-based company is being sold, typically you will sell for about 2 times what your revenue is, whereas a product-based company can be anywhere from 10 to 15 times what your revenue is because the product is scalable. Another example, Vivint, you've probably heard of them. They sold for $2 billion, which is crazy. That's $2,000 million. Another Utah-based company, they started as a service company doing sales for pest control and alarm systems, and now they have products. They do solar type products. They have home automation products. They were actually the biggest acquisition that's happened to a Utah tech company before, which is pretty cool. So, products are fun. So I want to talk about what a designer's role is in creating a product, because there's a lot more than just getting into Photoshop and designing what the product is going to look like. A product starts with an idea. I'm curious what your thought process is on ideas. Do you find creating ideas for products to be a challenge, or you have too many, or don't have any at all? How are you with ideas for products?
It's like if there's a limitation in something, and just find it there at that moment, and then it's gone,
Yeah.
I find it infinite because I always like to solve problems, and whenever there's a chance to solve problems, we solve them.
Cool.
I'm good at ideas, some of them just aren't good.
Yeah, which is fine. That's completely normal. I have millions of bad ideas every day. Cool.
What about more ideas, right?
Oh yeah.
I have ideas
That aren't even probable.
That's good. Good to have those ideas.
Every man does,
Yep.
believe me.
Or possible.
What was I going to say? I lost my track. That's okay. We can move forward.
Idea process, I guess. So you were asking a little bit about.
Yeah. So for some people, it's really hard to come up with ideas. Some people have way too many ideas. I want to talk a little bit about how to come up with ideas and then how to decide whether the idea is worth following or not. Because executing an idea is expensive, especially if it's a tech idea. You want to build an app. It takes thousands of dollars to design, thousands of dollars to build. Then you take it to market. And so it's important to make sure your idea is feasible before you get too far into it. Here are some articles that are, if you have challenges finding ideas, I recommend reading these. One of them, you can just Google how to have great ideas, James Altucher, really good article. Another article is by Paul Graham. He's the founder of Y Combinator, paulgraham.com/ideas, HTML. I'll have these slides sent out if you don't want to copy it down, but definitely recommend reading both of those. My process for ideas that's been most helpful is to just make a list. I use Evernote to kind of organize my list. You can use whatever you want, whether it's just a notepad on your phone or whatever. But I found having a list and writing it down as soon as I get it helps a lot, because then my mind is actually looking for ideas throughout the day. And when you start getting in that habit, the ideas will come more often. So that would be my number one goal if you don't have ideas, is to get in the habit of writing it down when they come to you. Let's see, we won't go that far yet. One of the things that James Altucher talks about is to force yourself to write 10 ideas down every day, whether they're terrible or completely off the wall or improbable. Just getting in that habit of looking for them will make you find the opportunities more often. Another habit I would get into is pay attention when people say, I hate when, or it sucks that, I wish, because that tells you where actual pain points actually exist.
Why can't?
So we'll come back to this in a little bit. I saw a slideshow that kind of talked about some of these things that I'm going to go over in a sec. So some of these slides aren't 100% original content, but I wanted to share them because I thought they had some good ideas. Great design doesn't matter if you're solving the wrong problem. So if you're the greatest designer in the world and you know Photoshop inside and out, if you're working on the wrong problems and the wrong ideas, it doesn't matter. Here's some examples. Who's heard of Webvan?
Exactly. Right.
Anyone? Exactly. They're considered to be the biggest .com bust of all time. They raised $375 million in funding and completely flopped. Does anybody know what their idea was?
Grocery delivery?
Yeah, so it's online grocery delivery. So they would build these warehouses all over. You would go to webvan.com, put in what groceries you wanted, and the van would deliver to your house, which sounds like a great idea. If you were to tell somebody that idea, they'd be like, yeah, I would definitely use that. Like, that's a cool idea.
Until you talk to somebody with a gist, it's like, no, that's a bad idea.
Yep, and it didn't work. They completely flopped. They had $375 million, lost it all, declared bankruptcy. Part of that was because even though the idea seemed good, it actually wasn't a good idea. People didn't use the service, the logistics were a nightmare, it wasn't profitable. If you've read the Startup Manual by, what's his name? He's a cool guy. I forgot what his name is. What? No, it's he spoke at the last Startup Weekend. No, not him. Anyway, doesn't matter.
What's the difference between something like this and Amazon Fresh or Linear Farms or something?
I'm not sure. When I googled Webvan, there's actually a lot of image results for Amazon Fresh, but I don't know much about Amazon Fresh. It's probably pretty similar.
Steve Blank.
Yeah, Steve Blank, that's who it is. So he wrote the Startup Manual, Startup Owner's Manual, which is a great book, and the whole first chapter talks about Webvan. So if you want to learn more about it, I recommend it. He talks about this process of proving an idea before you move forward too far. Here's maybe a less drastic example. Segway. Sounds super cool, but you don't see them because people don't use them.
The small cops.
Yeah, small cops. You see them at tourist places, and there are uses for them.
I
But
think the U.S. Postal Service bought a few.
the who?
The U.S. Postal Service?
Oh, did they really? That could be actually be a good use for it. And it's not that there aren't uses for it, but it doesn't compare to the creator's original vision where everybody in the future is writing these everywhere. But when this was invented and people told people about the idea, they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, I don't think there are many people that are like, oh, that's a terrible idea.
The problem is it looks dorky.
I think you took one off the cliff, right?
Yeah, the inventor, yeah, he died by driving off the cliff, didn't he?
Literally.
Yeah.
With the same.
So, anyway, so going back to this original quote, great design doesn't matter if you're solving the wrong problem. Webvan had a super talented team. Their website was designed well. They had great manufacturing people design their warehouses, but the idea wasn't solid. Same with Segway, it's designed well, really cool invention, but despite that, the idea isn't solid. So these are slides I stole from the other slide that I saw. I really liked it. He said, I'm a designer, however, I'm not just a designer, I'm a problem solver. I read an article once that talked about how user experience and user interface designers are more like engineers than they are artists, which I really like. I think UI design is very pragmatic. It's about thinking through things logically and solving problems, essentially, more so than being creative. And being creative and artistic definitely helps. It helps to have a good eye for design and have good taste and good style, but being a problem solver is more important than any of that. So, here's one of my favorite slides. It's beautiful. Okay, so the job of a designer is to separate the problem from the solution. The best thing you can do for any project, separate those two up front before you start. In other words, first define the problem and then design a solution. From a designer's point of view, it's so tempting to have this cool idea and immediately jump into it and start designing ways on how you're going to solve this problem. I think Webvan was a classic idea of this. Everybody thought like, oh, it's such a cool idea, like deliver groceries through a van by ordering them online. And so they immediately jumped into ways to design the solution before they clearly define the problem. Defining the problem is more important than designing the solution. There's a quote by Einstein that I love. He said, if I had 20 days to solve a problem, I would take 19 days to define it. So we'll talk about what that actually means. How do you decide what makes a good idea? Obviously, web bands seemed like a good idea, but it wasn't. So how do you determine whether it actually is a good idea or not? I don't think there's any magic formula, but here are some ideas that I have. Number one, focus on people. What do people actually want? A lot of time it's easy to get absorbed on how cool the idea is, how new the idea is, but if it doesn't actually solve problems for people, then it's not going to work. So you need to think about what people actually want. That's why it's a great habit to pay close attention when people say, I hate when, or I wish that, or it sucks when, because they're telling you very sincerely what they actually want. And a lot of times it's easy to get tunnel vision, and you think you know what people want, but they actually don't want it. I ran into that problem tons of times personally, where I had this great idea, and I thought, this could be awesome. And then when you go to sell it, people actually don't want it as much as you think they did. Which is hard to do because in your mind it's such a great idea. So as a designer, this is a really important step to take. Also as a developer, I think it's important. And in my business, a lot of times we'll work with clients that have the same problem that we've had time and time again, where they have this idea that they think is so great, but it might not be, and sometimes we have to tell them that. And it might mean that we lose money or business because of it, but I'd rather help people than work an idea that I know is absolutely going to fail. But in some cases, we can be wrong and people know things people want before they even want them. Example of that is Dropbox. Before Dropbox existed, people didn't know they wanted cloud storage. But after they had it, everybody knew, oh, of course I want this. So there's a careful balance with that. Steve Jobs has some quotes about that, how he hates focus groups. But I think he had a good vision of knowing what people wanted before they knew they wanted it. So if you're Steve Jobs, you can get away with that. But anyway.
Not all the time.
Yeah, not all the time, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is there's no perfect way of knowing what people want. It's hard. But it's something to keep in mind during the process. So what people actually want are outcomes. What they don't want are tools, features, technology, things that are cool, things that are new. This might be a little bit over the top, but what people actually want more than these things are outcomes. They want a solution to a problem. From a designer's point of view, or anyone building a product, it's easy to get very caught up in thinking this product is so cool, it's so new, there's nothing like it, it's using these new technologies, it has all these great features, but who cares if it doesn't solve a problem that somebody has? As an example, people don't want a hammer, they want a wooden deck. A hammer is just one of many ways to desired outcome. From a product designer's point of view, we might build the coolest hammer in the world, and we talk about how cool the hammer is and how new it is and all these cool features it has. But if you can't communicate to them that the hammer is a means to getting this outcome, it doesn't matter. One way to kind of help determine what features are most important when designing a product is to use a stack ranked list methodology. Has anybody heard of stack ranking? It's got some press recently with Microsoft, actually. Actually bad press, so take this with a grain of salt. Microsoft uses this product, or this methodology very heavily, and they just completely axed it. But I think there's still a lot of validity to it. So what stack ranking is taking all of your tasks and deciding what's most important. So, for example, when you're building a product, it's easy to get really excited to think of all these cool features that you can add to the product. We call it feature creep. It happens all the time. We warn clients about it. We say we've done this a lot. What's going to happen, guaranteed, is as we get working on this project, we're going to come up with ideas, you're going to come up with ideas that are beyond the scope, and it's just going to balloon infinitely unless we put a stop to it. So stack ranking helps solve this problem. Instead of saying that feature is a bad idea, you say this feature is less important than these other features. So instead of saying what's bad and what's good, it's just ranking things as far as the priority goes. Which works great when you're working in a team, because somebody might have a great idea, it might be the client, instead of saying, no, like we're not going to do that, it's not a good idea. And say, okay, that's a great idea, but is it as important as these other features? So when you're first creating a product, you need to organize in order which features are the most important, and then stick with those top ones until later. So here's an example of that. You've seen these steps before in an airplane. Step 1, secure your own oxygen mask. Step 2, assist others. Sadly, if it came down to it, the highest priority is number 1. If you only have time to do one of those two, it should be number 1. Stack organizing is sometimes like this, where it really hurts to cut features, it really hurts to not do things you want to do, but you have to stick with what's most important. So, to kind of summarize what we've gone over so far, focus on people, define outcomes that people actually want, and then stack rank those outcomes. This is really good to plan what your product is going to have before you even build it. So you need to focus on what people actually want, and then order those. And then all of your design should be focused on those goals. I know Matt talked about goal-oriented design last week, and this is kind of a method for choosing which goals are most important. So moving on, once you have your product idea kind of formed, you have what outcomes you think are most important, that's when you can take your product idea out to the market. So I'll use a personal example for this. A year and a half ago when I first met Matt, we got connected as partners when we built this product. It's called Beside You Forever. It's a wedding website creator, so engaged couples can go onto our website, make a wedding invitation that's online that has features like Google Maps, an RSVP thing, a gallery, online, what's it called?
Registry.
Yes, registries. So anyways, we had this idea. Luckily, Matt was a business major, and so I hadn't heard about any of this market testing thing. I was kind of in the mindset like, this idea is so great, let's just go build it. But luckily, he reined me in a little bit, and so we took it out to test. We went to one of these, a bridal show. That was like one of the most interesting experiences in my whole life. So, 2 single guys, had no clue about weddings. We were both single. Matt's been married since then, but didn't know anything about weddings. They built this product. We show up to this bridal show. There's no other guys in sight at all, except for a couple grooms-to-be that were dragged along by their brides. All the other tables were like lacy and flowery and well decorated. We had like
A computer.
yeah, we literally had a computer and a stack of papers, and that was it. Like,
I'm just curious, how much do they charge you for a booth?
we actually pulled a student cart and got in for super cheap. It was like $200 I think.
Oh.
Normal, like
That's cheap.
for a vendor, it could be like $1,000 or $1,500 or a lot more. So we went in there, wasn't decorated at all. We called a girl who's actually Matt's wife now to come and help us decorate. So it was a little bit girlier once we got her to help. And then we built this really rough prototype of what our website would look like and had it on iPads so we could show brides what it was, how it would actually work. For me, at first, that was like the scariest moment ever, where I had to approach potential customers, show them what I had built, and convince them to pay me money for it. And I just sucked at selling. Like, I wasn't very good at it. But, and at that point, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I don't know anything about weddings. I don't know how to sell. Like, why am I here? But I kind of got into the flow of it, and I kind of got my pitch down, and eventually I could explain my product and show it well enough that I could see it click in the bride's eyes. And that's when I kind of thought, like, yeah, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. And we were able to make sales at that thing before we even had a product built. We showed it to brides and we said, we were charging $29 for this, would you pay for it? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So we said, okay, write us a check. Even though our product didn't work yet. So all those sales that we made, we like hand coded the sites for them, which wasn't an efficient business model, but it let us test whether people would actually pay for this. So I highly, highly recommend that process to anyone that's building a product. Before you get too deep in actually building it, go try and get actual money for it. And there's a difference between asking your friend, like, would you pay for this, versus asking for a check right there on the spot, which can be really scary, but it's also really thrilling. And if people aren't willing to pay money for it, then it saves you thousands of dollars that you would have wasted in time in the future. So there's lots of opportunities for this. You can go to trade shows, or you can just do it online. So one particular method for this, has anybody heard of Buffer? It's an app that lets you schedule tweets or Facebook updates for later. So like you can put in like 20 Twitter updates, and then it will schedule them and kind of spread them out over the next couple of days. Really cool company. Their founder is awesome. He has a lot of great articles on his blog. I definitely recommend reading his stuff, actually. What he did is he had this idea for Buffer where it was actually a problem that he had personally. So he knew that there was a pain point from personal experience. He created a landing page that was basically a fake explanation of this product that he hadn't built yet. Then he had a call to action, a button that said like, use this now. And then at first it was free, and so he just posted that on his Twitter profile. And he had a lot of followers, and so he kind of gauged through Google Analytics how many people were actually clicking the button after they made it to the site. And he found that enough people were clicking on the button that there was some interest for his idea. And so he added another page that had 3 payment types. So like a basic, like a pro, and then I don't know what else. And each one had a price, and then he promoted it again, and people would actually click through the ones that charge money. And that led to a page that said, hey, we haven't built the product yet, but put in your email and we'll let you know when it's ready. So that was a way for him to test whether people would actually pay for it. So there's a lot of different techniques you can use to actually test whether people will buy your product. That process may or may not sound fun. I didn't think I'd like it at first because I'm very technical and I like to build stuff. But I loved it. It was a blast. And it also helps to get a business co-founder if that's what you want to do. So anyway, whether you're interested in entrepreneurship at all or not, I think it's a good skill to have in the business world. If you're working for a corporation, it's a good way to test out ideas. Maybe not the same method, but I think a lot of money gets wasted in big corporations where management has this idea and then they say, okay, let's just go do it without testing it. I think that's an advantage that startups have, is that they don't have money to waste, so they actually do have to test it. So anyway, enough about that. I could talk about that forever. Next step is to build a wireframe or a prototype. Whether you're a developer or not going to go into design too far, you still should be able to build a basic wireframe, whether it's cool looking like this or just used in Balsamic or made in Keynote or PowerPoint or just drawn on paper. You should be able to visually kind of map out what your product is going to look like. And if you're a developer, you can build kind of a basic prototype. And it doesn't have to have full functionality. It can be just enough to show people what your idea is. That's what we did with the site server. The actual site didn't have functionality. We just coded a rough prototype of what the product would end up looking like. And it was enough to show brides what the product was going to be. One of the last steps is to simplify and stick with your MVP. So MVP in this case stands for minimum viable product. We talked about feature creep or scope creep. It's super easy to have all these great ideas and want to have them all right away. But the key when starting out is to simplify as much as possible and just build the minimum viable product, just enough that you can sell it. Another quote from Einstein: everything should be as simple as possible, but no simpler. Another quote: when in doubt, leave it out. Another one: justify every pixel, justify every interaction. This lets you make the few features you do have be really, really great. We talked about the stack ranking. You might have 10 great features, 10 great ideas, but focus on just the 1 or 2 or 3 before you get traction. And that will let you make sure that those problems are solved very well, instead of solving 10 problems
Or 10,000.
in a mediocre way.
Does.
Yep. So, an example of that is Instagram. I think I've talked about them a little bit before. Instagram,
The upload thing.
yeah, the upload thing. Yep, exactly. Instagram could have gone a million different directions when they started out. They could have made a web version of their app. They could have gone into video right away. There's still a million different things they could do, but they've been very, very focused on what they do best, which is taking pictures and sharing them. Because of that, they've had a lot of success. Their founder, Kevin Systrom, did this video interview. It was really good. He talked about how he wanted to make the core feature of sharing photos to be superlative, so like the very, very best sharing photo experience that exists out there. I think that should be your first goal with whatever problem you're trying to solve is be the very, very best at solving that one problem, and then once you've done that well, then you can move on to the other ones. So to kind of summarize everything again, on building a great product, 1, focus on people. 2, define outcomes that people actually want. Spend a lot of time defining what that problem is, and before you start designing what the solution is. Stack rank those outcomes in order of what's most important, and then simplify and focus on the MVP. So that's all I have today as far as slides go. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think we have a little bit of time. Does anybody have a product idea that they want to get feedback from, or kind of bounce around on other people? We do this in the entrepreneurship club, and it's always really helpful.
I have one.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. Again, might be stupid. Okay, so everybody hates when they're in an elevator, right? Because it's awkward and silent, and you're like, it's just awkward. And I'm in elevators a lot. So one idea I had is to have advertisements, like either that or, I don't know, like a trivia question or something that you pay attention to, or like a screen in the elevator. So there's something that you're doing in the elevator, but not awkwardly standing next to a person.
Yeah.
So,
That's just something I thought of sitting here.
so it would make you interact with the other person potentially?
No, so it would take away the awkward silence.
So like a video screen for like a YouTube video or something like that? Or?
Yeah, but you're in the elevator for what, like 20 seconds?
Pretty much every Vegas hotel. That's fast.
But yeah, but they don't, but I mean, you either have silence or you have elevator music.
Yeah.
It's everyone.
No, it's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's,
they have like music videos.
But what about
What I'm saying is
oh,
it
they
exists.
have it in
I'm
Vegas.
saying
what if
it
you had a
exists,
question
yeah.
like, what if the person next to you had won a Nobel Prize or had green shorts? I don't know, something weird that would break the ice. I guess basically you want to break the ice. Or
Yeah.
not break the ice, but break the tension.
Well, one
So-
thing that's worked, like something that they've had on Delta for a long time. I don't know if you guys, they have trivia on planes, and it's free, and it's a way for the like. People get way into it because people will get up and like meet people on planes because they can see who's playing. So
I've seen
something
that.
like that where it's you're not supposed to interact with them anyway. So
Yeah, no,
I was just thinking, what do I hate? I hate awkward elevator rides.
No, I think that's a
It's like
total
writing
valid
the T
point.
in Boston.
So you get a QR code and you scan it, and suddenly you're on this, or, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that
That's
a lot
good.
of elevators have mirrors?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Is that so it doesn't like you don't
It's-
feel it's claustrophobic?
I read an article about this that was super interesting. It talked about how in our generation people hate waiting and doing nothing. Like it just drives them crazy.
Mhm.
One of the examples was the Houston airport, which had like one of the lowest customer ratings ever. And the reason was because their baggage waiting time was huge. Like people had to wait forever to get their baggage. And so what they did is they made the route from getting off the plane to the baggage a lot longer. So their airport was less efficient, but because people didn't feel like they were wasting time as much, they had to take a longer route, their ratings just soared after that. And
let's take it to
the article talked about that's the reason they put mirrors in elevators, because people hate like standing doing nothing. So mirrors at the very least give you a little bit of interest because you can look at yourself. Or look at other So I think your idea,
That's a good idea.
Yeah, something like
you could
that.
take it a step further where instead of it's a mirror, it's a video that has interesting stuff or a QR
Yeah,
code.
or did you know, or Burger King's across the street, or, you know, if you're in a hotel or something, I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, advertisements in elevators is a good idea. I'm amazed that's not done nearly as often as it is. Nearly at all.
So the tricky part with that idea is testing whether, well, one, determining how you're going to make money for it, and testing whether you can make money on it. But I like it, great.
There are a few places to buy it, but most places with elevators probably wouldn't bother.
If you can incentivize them and tell them like this will make your hotel more money, whether it's through ads or
Hotels,
something,
but office
you have to
buildings.
offer them some kind of value. But
Yeah.
great, thank you for sharing that. That's good. Anybody else have an idea they want to throw out there? Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so this comes from me working in retail. It's something I see a lot. But people will like take a picture of something and then send it to someone and ask if this is the right thing they're supposed to be getting or something like that. And then the other part of this is that I don't know if you guys know what the game is, Skylanders, the kids game. So I was working with some NFC stuff and I was trying to make an app that can identify those and then do product recognition on it and send that to the other person and say, hey, is this what I should get? So when I was thinking about taking that a step further and saying, okay, well, if you take this picture of something and it could automatically, you know, with an app downloaded or something, it could automatically send them the details of it, not just a picture, because sometimes you look at it and you don't recognize what it is at all. That you could send them the information, or you know, they could, or even you could make a wish list out of it or something like that. Because I've done that a lot. But I don't know, I take pictures of things I want to buy in the future.
Yeah, yeah, that's a cool idea.
Could you use like the barcode instead of NFC? Just that you just scan the barcode and just instantly get from the database or something.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that would be a like double thing, like maybe NFC and barcode scanning, or
Okay.
all the above.
So I'm at the mall and I take a picture of myself in a sweater or something, send it to my sister. What do you think? And you want it to be able to say
This is where it's
$40
from.
the Gap, and she'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, but not for that much, or you know,
Yeah.
something like that. That I kind of like that, because you have to. It's $40. I'm not sure if it's worth that much. Is it that cute? Like, but they would have all the information with the picture.
That's $1 billion idea, my friend.
It may be.
Well, so the trick to
Think
it
of
is that
all the Valley
the
Girls.
only
All the Valley Girls
That's funny.
will be using this.
the only incorporation I've seen for something similar is like Google Shoppers. So you have like they have an API that
The
you know,
hard
that I can
problem is
access
getting that
to
data.
get information like that off of, but how reliable is it and stuff like that. You know? So that's where it becomes where I was wondering if it's even worth trying or something like that. I was actually going to probably turn it into my independent study for next year and see if I
Yeah.
can make some of this stuff.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
You could crowdsource the data too. That way it's always reliable. Like when the prices change, somebody can adjust the price. Like we're saying
That,
Yeah, see, that's something I didn't think of.
yeah, that's very, that wouldn't be scalable. Like if you take a picture of something, it wouldn't be able to tell you the price because it might be different at another store. Or,
Yeah, so my idea was GPS location, depending on where you're at, you know, business
but
recognition.
even if several stores in a mall, you might get a new bill. Or you might not have a signal. Several things can go wrong here. And you're going to have to populate your database with like billions upon billions of rows.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing I'm thinking.
And that's where you use a NoSQL database because you really
I think we
only
just
do
went
it in
text
certain
on it.
apps.
What do you take pictures of to send to people?
A lot of movies or something like that, like for movie nights or stuff.
Like,
Or-
Movies
you
can
guys
be
don't
done.
watch this?
Movies
Yeah,
can be
yeah, or, you know,
Yeah, that's interesting, because you know, my wife and I, we are always, we're always looking for furniture, but we never buy it. So we're always taking pictures of, like, comparing it to each other. And it's like, okay, I'm at, you know, this place down Northeast, or whatever it is, or some other place like Great Car or whatever. It's like, what is this? How's this gonna look? How's this gonna look in the living room? Or you know, what's the price on this thing? Well, is that worth that price? And those are high ticket items potentially, so there's a real difference potentially in price. It's not just $40, maybe $400 or even $800. So you might have some. That's an interesting idea, actually. If there was a way to compare
But you
it.
have to write I'm at RC Lily, it's $400.
Right.
Actually,
Right.
it's
And-
not-
Mall-
Send a picture, send it to one. Yeah, and what if you send it to more than one person? What if you had a whole cadre of folks?
Or upload it on your Facebook.
Or make sort of packets where you actually enter the price yourself, because, you know,
Well, you can scan a barcode.
Yeah, that too.
that's good, except you can't, you can't count on every store to upload their prices to be onto your database and readjust them whenever they
The
change.
idea would be to go through major retailers and look at things like that, is how the way I
Well,
would.
if you could do
For
text
comparing
to
prices, maybe yes.
CR, I mean, I suppose you could scan the text. you could scan
But
it.
there's also like a giant UBC database that you can also link to get at least general information for it. That's something we use at Target all the time when we're creating a barcode or a unique number.
Text.
Just saying, I would, if it worked magically, I would use it.
It worked magic. That'd be the trick.
Bring me the start of the weekend and have really
Yeah.
smart people build.
Yeah, you certainly should. We could build it this next weekend. I think the best problems to solve are the problems you have yourself, so that alone is kind of a good start. That's something Randall Bennett really taught me, because I talked to him once in this room for 3 hours about the whole video industry and broadcasting. He's very, very, very passionate about broadcasting, and the reason his business is successful is he knows the problem he's solving exists because he's dealt with it. So if you can solve a problem that you have, that's already a great first step.
Is that the guy who did, oh,
Who, Randall Bennett?
no?
No, he's the
The guy that came today, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Who
So-
else? Who else has ideas?
Yeah.
Every
Good
time,
time for this one.
I think I have a good home automation idea
Oh,
to be
nice.
taken, but there's one I want to take a little bit further, which is like irrigation,
Mhm.
like where water is such a problem here, and everybody wants to water their lawns. I know that some systems already have like instruments to measure the amount of, water, but if something like what's the Nest thermostat?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
From that's where it's pulling like weather information forecast. Just I don't know if it's XML data or something, and then using that to optimize so that you're using just the right amount of water that you need and no more. So
That sounds really cool.
Because then you look at things like the weather, but then also what time of year is it? Sun. When is sunlight
Yeah.
going to come
all
up?
that.
So when is your darkest point? Because that's when you want to at least have water.
Good point. Those things are really ridiculously complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It's
seems
not
like,
only software design, but
Yeah.
hardware design too.
it seems like the easiest way to do that is just to put something in the ground that measures
Well,
the
they have that now.
tone of the
Yeah,
soil.
but for forecasts.
And then
Yeah.
have that plug into your.
If it just went to like an app on your phone though, I would
That's what I was
that-
thinking,
that's-
yeah.
That would be cool, because like the sprinkler system things that you hook up in your garage are archaic, like they're not
Yeah.
good. If you could control your whole sprinkler system through your phone, I think that would be really cool.
If you talk hardware, if you had a relay to that could signal it on and off, it could magically over your network, and then your phone
That's a,
is the application.
Yeah.
That would be good until you actually forget to actually tell it to turn on, so you have it scheduled, I guess.
Well, the app would, the way I would think about it is the app would figure that out. But,
That whole industry I think is really exciting. Like
Yeah.
Nest has been doing great, they just raised a ton of money. Dividend is doing the same thing, they just sold for $2 billion, so it shows that there's space for that, and if you did well, I'm sure somebody would buy you. But it's also intimidating because there's software and hardware design, so
Yeah.
pulling it off would be difficult, but
remember that thing we went to in the discussion today?
But for an EE person.
Measure your.
yeah, you could find an engineering partner and that would be cool.
The meeting.
I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah,
You gotta talk to
Yeah, when he was talking about.
electrical engineer, electrical engineering
What do you call
technology.
it?
They don't wanna do the software, they wanna do the hardware.
Yeah.
The check your opponents kind of thing, when he was talking about that, when you're
Oh.
testing an idea.
Yeah.
When you're not check competitors.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the interesting thing about that, that's the other
Yeah.
problem.
Have you seen the automatic? It's like a car plug-in. You It's like a little device that you put in your car's data port, and then all the information about your car is sent to your phone. So it will tell you your gas mileage, it will tell you how, if you have bad driving habits, for example, if you accelerate too often or brake too hard, it will tell you you're losing this much money on gas.
The Mormon church bought a bunch of them for their missionaries.
Oh, really?
And my brother was part of a pilot program, and they've been able to reduce the cost, because you're like, it records everything, and so you have like a file, and it records every time you speed, everything, and so you lose your driving privileges, and they were able to get so much cost down with accidents and over the period of the pilot program. But it's annoying because everything you do is recorded.
Yeah.
It's a device in
Shows
the
you
car.
every
Isn't it?
route. Yeah, you just plug it in.
Yeah.
And it tells you other stuff too, like if your check engine light comes on, it will tell you like what's wrong with your engine. If you get in an accident, it will call 911 automatically. If you lose your car, it will show you on your phone like where you're parked at. Like, that's some cool stuff.
See, if insurance companies would use them, and you could upload, here I'm an amazing driver, at least this says I am, so give me a better rate. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you could work a deal with like utilities where you show like you're saving this much money on water by using this.
Yeah.
That's Nest's biggest selling point, is that they show that you will save this much in heating bills every month by using Nest. So even though it's a $200 thermostat, it saves you money in the long run, so people buy it, and it's cool. But anyway, I think that whole industry is really exciting. Whether it's feasible or hard to do or not, I think it's cool. So yeah. Anyway, we probably should call it for tonight, but I love this stuff. I could talk about this all day long. So 2 things before you leave. Startup weekend next Thursday, so no class, but you should come to that if you can.
There's a class on the day though.
Yeah.
What time is?
It starts at 7, so go to ogden.startupweekend.org. If you don't participate, it's worth coming even just to show up and see people pitch ideas. Thursday night is when that happens. You could even come part of Friday and Saturday and help people out a little bit and just see how it is. It's just in downtown Ogden at that new building, so definitely worth it. Really fun, great food, meet cool people. I've done it 3 times and I've loved it every time. So there's that. Next week is Thanksgiving, so no class again. So our last class will be the week after that, which I think is the first week of December. So I have a million things I could talk about, but is there anything in particular you guys want to go over? We could do a little bit more Photoshop, a little bit more code, or we can talk about stuff like this. I don't know if there's anything that you guys wanted to cover, but we haven't yet.
May have ideas after the start of the weekend.
Yeah.
We'll design your thing, thanks boss.
Yeah. If you
You
have
should go to that and then report though.
yeah, that would be really cool actually. Yeah, if anybody, I'd love to hear what
Are we
people
gonna
did.
do that annually?
Yeah, Alex wants to do it in Ogden once a year. It's every 6 months in Utah, so they've done it in Salt Lake, and they're going to do it for a little bit. Alex wants to do it in Ogden once a year. Okay, great. Well, I might see you Thursday if you're there. If not, we'll see you in 1, 2, 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If you have a second, we should maybe do that in parallel.
Oh yeah. Actually, my brother does it, so
Oh.
I can show you how it works though.
Sure.
My brother's awesome at
I was just
JavaScript
curious
about it.
Sam, do you know who it was that said that UI is more started?
Wanna go to that?
Oh, no,
More
no,
like
I can find it. It was an article on Medium. Let me. I
You can answer that.
No, mine will probably take.
Next Thursday's 1:30 again, right?
Yes, next
Okay.
Thursday, 1:30.
Is Alex
Yeah,
actually speaking?
You can see it.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go on my lunch break, so I have to. I'll probably go this week and make sure I know where the building is,
Okay.
because every time I've gone to Weber State, it hasn't been a pleasant experience.
I can help you. Just,
It's hard to navigate around there.
go
You're not-
to the information.
Sure. Yeah.
On your site, on
Yeah.
the build by
Mhm.
you know how
Okay.
the
Go to
sections are.
go to weebuddy.edu/host,
How did you decide?
COAST, and then you just go to like
Other than,
about
like,
us
if
or
you're
whatever, and you'll find
Like decide what the height should be.
information.
How so? Like, let me. I'll pull
And
it
then I can get you a parking pass
So like these
So
sections.
like starting at
If
the
I
very
just email you
top,
before?
starting
Yeah.
how this fills
And
the whole
then,
screen,
like you give
and then
them
going down to
so
the next section.
Uh-huh.
Excellent. I didn't even think about that,
See
because
how
then I
no
can
one
park in
thing like
that front parking lot, or that
overlaps
parking
with
lot
the
by the
other.
building.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you
how
can
you
just
still
park
see a
in
little bit of
K2,
each.
or you can park behind.
No, I'm
it.
saying like, but like how the content of it
Oh.
doesn't like you, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like when you get here, you see this.
Awesome.
okay,
All right, I'll
you
shoot
go
you
to
an
the
email
next
this week.
Sure.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you have a way of deciding?
Not really, honestly. We just did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you mean like where this overlaps right here, or?
Yeah, just things like that. Yeah, like how what's separating the whole thing, like
Yeah.
the distance here, you know,
Yeah.
the distance there.
Honestly, this was just a lot of eyeballing what we thought would look good, but yeah. There's a lot of sites that really break up their site vertically like this. I'm sure you noticed that
But yeah,
it's kind of a more modern trend, I guess. And so,
I'm trying it right now, so I'm trying to see what's.
yeah.
Are you
I found a
designing
really good
something
example.
tomorrow?
It was. I'll put
Yeah.
emails here, but there's a cool example of a site
What are you doing?
that's similar to this I saw recently. So,
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
Google design
Did you
is
do this
not
for
art.
something in this class?
And then medium.com. This is the article.
You could be the best student.
Like, you probably so,
No, I'm not. I've been messing around in Photoshop because I had to design a logo.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you'd like this
So-
article a lot. It's really
So I
interesting.
work for SkyWest.
There's a lot of,
And so every department.
each of these sections has comments too, so there's kind of some interesting discussions that go
That's
forward.
cool.
Yeah, their commenting system is pretty cool because they comment on a specific part instead of all at the bottom.
That's financed by the company.
But there's a lot of discussion. It's kind of a controversial article. A lot of people didn't agree, but I thought he brought up some really interesting points.
No, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
And we were
Yeah,
going to
design
have a joint effort with
It's,
all these
that's
groups,
perfect.
you know, it is
Because we're trying to
in our
create,
mechanics.
we're trying to create sort of a user
And so
design,
I'm like, hey, can you design
user
a-
interaction,
like,
whatever we call it.
this out? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
One Photoshop class?
in
Yeah.
college, and
So I messed around in it.
it would be nice for me to work with
Something
the
that ended up
visual
working,
artists,
but
but they're
I don't know
actually
what I'm doing.
essentially fighting against us doing it. It's kind of like,
Oh, really?
I was like, where's the ruler?
That's a good way to persuade
Yeah,
them.
yeah, like, well, I can
Yeah.
well, if I
So
can't
this is
persuade
cool.
them, I
So show
can
me what
persuade
you
everybody
did.
else.
Yeah.
So did
I
you
think
do
a lot of
whatever?
people that don't go
Or
to
is it-
design are intimidated by the fact that oh, I'm not creative or
Mhm.
artistic, and I think,
Where we did
like I
the,
mentioned today, it's a lot more pragmatic.
So I just, yeah, there was like a lot of photos.
Well, look at all that
you didn't
practice
use
you've
the
got.
photo here, you used
You
it
know,
down there.
spacing.
I wasn't here for
Yeah.
just guessing concepts, right? I just
Yeah.
basically moved that section.
You didn't go to
Mhm.
And then just had tables for that.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So did
I
you
mean,
go-
it-
did you use this?
it helps to be
Did you
creative
put that
and
button
artistic,
in
but
Photoshop?
I don't
No,
think
this is
it's
just,
necessary.
so this is,
Right. Well, or
like maybe this
that
is
you
the
can
button,
learn.
Yeah, exactly. That's just a skill you can learn for sure.
And then I just went.
Yeah, I think the non-creative
CSS and I just made it.
aspects of design are more important than the creative aspects.
Well, I want to run a syllabus
And then
of
that
you
pulls
actually for
the
the
Yeah.
intro class. Remember we talked about
So
some
this is
creative-
Yeah.
I put together something, and
It's just a border.
in
And
fact,
fill it with red.
it would be kind of fun
So
to
this is part
work with you
six,
going
this
forward
one.
doing that.
Yeah,
It's just a border
I love
around
to do
the
that.
whatever.
Are they,
Yeah.
are they the exact same button?
Yeah, just
So